Alright, so here we go. This video is about the different types of bikes and which type is best for you. So first thing, before we get into the types of bikes themselves, let's go over three important things rather, that you need to consider when you're looking to get a new bike or get back into the sport of cycling. So different types of tires. Off to the left, we have a road tire, which varies anywhere from 23 to 30 millimeters in diameter. And then you have the slightly thicker cyclocross tires, and it goes to the commuter tires all the way down to two different types. So these correspond to different types of bikes, and we'll get into that in a second. But just know, skinnier tires off to the left are faster, but they are also not as easy to handle. It's a bit more tricky with the handling. Off to the right, these tires are more grippy. They can adapt to different terrain like trails and things of that nature. Also, we have the drivetrain. So items 1 and 2, those are your derailleurs. That's what changes the chain. That's item 6 onto the different cogs, number 3, or chainring, number 5. So what you do with these gears is you use them to adapt to different terrains. So whether you're going uphill or downhill, or you're on a flat road, or the wind's in your face, wherever it may be, you use these gears to adapt to different riding conditions. And the last thing to kind of define before we get into it is the position. So on your left, you have a more aggressive position in those two pictures. So you have a road racer position as well as a time trial position. I do not recommend these for beginning riders because these are very aggressive and harsh positions. They might feel uncomfortable at first. So what I would recommend is looking for a bike that will give you a position such as that as a relaxed road rider, or a more like a fitness position, a hybrid bike position, something of that nature. First bike we have is the BMX. You might see kids riding these or adults looking for a bit more of the action sports type of deal. So you can do tricks on these. You can see them at the skate parks, things of that nature. Mountain bike. This is a generic mountain bike with a front suspension. So you can see the forks up front have those front shocks. They do not have a rear suspension. That's why it's called the hardtail mountain bike. All around great bike, good for riding trails or rougher dirt roads, that type of thing. A more specialized type of mountain bike is called the downhill bike. This bike has very grippy tires for going down hills. Basically, this bike is for a sport that's called downhill racing, where you start at the top of a mountain or hill and try and find yourself or see who can get to the bottom as fast as they can. As well as a front suspension, also has a rear suspension that allows this bike to tackle very rough terrain, whether it be rocks, logs, dirt, slippery dirt, etc. Beach cruiser, very great for. Actually, I don't. For me, beach cruisers are an interesting type of bike. They're very popular, but I feel like you could do what you would want to do on a beach cruiser on a different type of bike, such as a town bike. So no hate on the beach cruisers necessarily, but I think that they are very narrow in their use and what you can do with them. A town bike, on the other hand, you can put a rack on the back. You can have something up in the front to carry things around town or from school back and forth to work even. One thing to notice here is the drivetrain. Sometimes they only have one gear or maybe 2 or 3 gears. So that's something to consider depending on how long and what kind of terrain you're dealing with when you ride. A fixed gear bike, also called a track bike, single speed. They have one brake, but most often they don't have any brakes at all, because with a fixed gear bike, you pedal to start and you stop pedaling to stop. So it seems very simple, and it seems kind of confusing at first, but that's basically the gist of it. You have to use your legs only in order to stop this bike, but nevertheless, not lots of people like to use them. I know at school here, a lot of people like to ride around the campus on fixed gear bikes. This is a hybrid bike, kind of in the middle of a mountain bike and a road bike. Has wider tires. Normally, it doesn't have any shocks or suspension up at the front, although sometimes it does. One thing to consider when having a bike with suspension is it makes it less stiff and responsive, so you won't be able to ride as fast if you're trying to put the power into the bike. It's not going to respond as well just because it has that extra amount of give. Normally, gearing on a hybrid bike is suited for almost any rider, so if you're looking to get into the sport, this is a good option for you. But if you have a good idea about what kind of riding you want to do, it might be better to get a bike that is more specifically suited for that type of discipline. For example, if you want to ride on trails, I wouldn't get this bike, I would ride a mountain bike. If you want to ride on the road, this bike might work on the road, but a road bike is probably a better option for you because it's more suited to that type of riding. Next on our list is a cyclocross bike. This is a this is a bike used in a specific sport called cyclocross, very popular in Northern Europe and places where it gets cold for the winter. It gives a different style of sport. For the winter, it's a type of discipline that involves races anywhere from 30 minutes to an hour in length on slippery, muddy courses. You'll often see racers from this sport coming out of the race very muddy and dirty. It's a great sport all around, though. I enjoy watching it, and if you're looking to get into that, that's the bike for you. Gravel bikes, newer type of bike. I wouldn't really recommend it, but I put it in here just because it's something that people are interested in lately. They have wider tires, and they have disc brakes, which is great for more stopping power. The frame is similar to that of a road bike, but it's also a bit more durable, so you can go over the rougher stuff. Touring bike. This is something that I'll be using on something similar to this is what I'll be using on my tour. You'll see it loaded up with a bunch of stuff like that. But this is a great all-around bike for riding long distances or riding to and from work. It can do almost everything that a road bike can do, just a little bit slightly slower. The geometry, the shape of the frame, isn't really suited for racing on the road. But then again, if you're not looking to race, this is a great bike just to use for being out and about, going on group rides with the local cycling clubs, that type of thing. Definitely a recommendation if you're looking to get into the sport. It allows you to do many different things just in one package. Now, if you're looking to get into road cycling, this is the bike that I recommend for you. An endurance style road bike. Has a slightly more relaxed geometry than a pure road bike, so it gives you a more comfortable position when you're on the bike. And with these drop handlebars, you have different positions to put your hands in. You can put your hands down here on the drops, or on the hoods, or on the tops up here at the top of the handlebars. You can normally put anywhere from a 23 millimeter wide tire, and in some cases up to a 30 or 32 millimeter wide tire that allows you to have more comfort on the bike, and it allows you to go over different types of roads. So instead of being stuck strictly on asphalt, tarmac, concrete, things like that, you can also go on a little bit rougher types of roads. Great all-around bike to start with. Okay, so a road bike. This is a very pure road bike. This is basically the Ferrari on our list. If the last road bike, the endurance road bike, was more of a Mustang, this is definitely like a Ferrari or a Lamborghini. Very fast, twitchy handling, but it also allows you to go quicker in straight lines, that type of thing. Skinny tires, once again. Gearing that's more centered towards riding very fast at speeds anywhere from 20 to 35, even 45 miles an hour on flat roads. Has the drop handlebars like we've seen on many bikes. This is what the pro racers use on the majority of their racing days. This is a different type of road bike. It's an aero road bike. I don't recommend these for new riders and beginners just because it's so limited as to what you can do. You can go fast on flat roads with this type of bike, but it's not suited for other types of riding, whether that be on anything rougher than purely smooth concrete. The stopping power with these bikes isn't very good. They hide the brakes behind the bikes strategically in more aerodynamic spots on the frame, so it's It's really more of a specialized. It has a special niche in the cycling world. And if the pure road bike was a Ferrari, then this is more like an F1 race bike, um, built for going fast in straight lines and just getting from point A to point B as quick as possible. Not very comfortable at all. You'll see triathletes racing these. Pro racers use it in the time trial stages when they're not looking for great handling, but they're looking for pure speed. Alright, so that's basically a rundown of the different types of bikes. You have BMX off to the left, mountain towards the middle, you have a hybrid bike, and then your road bikes off to the right. Let me know if you have any questions about these in the comment section down below.